Hello, my name's Andy Schmuckler. I've been feeling like everywhere we turn these days, we see somebody behaving in a way that looks to me like cowardice. I think about Christopher Wray resigning rather than putting up something of a fight, or just requiring that Trump do something he shouldn't do and fire him before his 10-year term is up. I think about Jeff Bezos knuckling under to Donald Trump. I think about the Republicans who are acting like they're very intimidated by Donald Trump and not speaking the way a brave person would speak about some of these terrible people that Trump is nominating for important positions. They pussyfoot around. The bravest of them pussyfoot around. And I'm having some difficulty believing that they won't confirm Kash Patel. I'm worried about RFK Jr. and Hegseth. All these people should never be considered for the positions they've been nominated for. But I don't know. I could be wrong about their being. But we've seen so much cowardice from the Republicans pretty much all along with each impeachment trial. I just don't have any expectations. But in any event, we've seen plenty of examples of people sort of knuckling under in a way that, in any kind of Western movie would be considered yellow. I think about, what's his name, Mika Brzezinski's, Joe Scarborough, and Mika going down to Mar-A-Lago to kiss the ring. I mean, it's disgusting. All the times that people are bringing up what Tim Snyder so memorably apparently has said about tyranny is that the first law is don't obey in advance. And now here we've got, a lot of people obeying in advance. So I've been asking myself, well, why are we seeing so much cowardice? And that leads me to examine, well, is there any more cowardice out there now than usual, or is it just a matter of we're in a circumstance with a particular powerful person that the cowardice that's always been there as the potential, like if push comes to shove, this is what's going to happen. Is made manifest, and so we're seeing cowardice more, but it's because the situation exposes it. Or has the culture evolved in such a way that the proportion of people who have courage, this kind of courage in particular, the kind of courage that Liz Cheney, for example, has manifested is rarer today than it would have been in some earlier era. And I think a case can be made that there's some of each. Donald Trump is a particularly vindictive person who wields a whole lot of power. First of all, through his following, he can punish people by primarying them. Apparently, that's a threat that I gather that Joni Ernst understood. She didn't talk differently about Hegseth. She was going to get primaried. So and then there are the people in the Trump following that result in death threats. So that's one kind of a way in which how much courage do you have kicks in that it wouldn't have, I don't think, with any other president we've had in our history. I think this kind of vindictiveness. I don't think that we've ever had a time when somebody like Jeff Bezos or the other CEOs that we've seen kissing the ring and or obeying in advance rather than taking a courageous stand. I don't know whether people in those positions would have done the same thing. Um, but anyway, I don't think that we've ever had a president who had shown a real willingness to abuse the powers of the presidency to punish businesses or rich people who don't do his bidding. I think that that's one of the places where he's broken ground in the direction of being a dictator. But at the same time, in addition to this unique circumstance where he has the power to threaten death to people and he has the power to end people's political careers, I think that there has been a moral deterioration of sorts that plays a role here. One of the things that would lead a person to be courageous in this situation is how that you give a whole lot of weight to certain other values than the ones that you're protecting, your career, your power, your status, or even yourself physically. Why would you sacrifice? Why would you take the courageous risk? Well, because there's something else that matters more. Christopher Wray, for example, I think that if he really deeply cared about the rule of law, would take a stand and fight, because what Trump is doing is basically what a law passed in 1976 about the FBI and the 10-year terms was supposed to prevent. So he's failing to protect the rule of law, and I infer from that, well, I guess from that perhaps he doesn't really care that much about that. Maybe in an earlier era, a person in his position would have a deeper commitment to the values that he should be defending, whose defense would endanger him in some way. I heard somebody conjecturing that maybe there are carrots for Wray too. Maybe he'll be making lots of money somehow as a result of his capitulation without a fight. But I'm imagining that there really has been an increase in the amount of sociopathy, in positions like the head of the FBI and Christopher Wray, as Senator Whitehouse testified to over the weekend. He was apparently cool with the FBI only pretending to investigate the sexual offenses alleged of the Supreme Court Justice. Oh, Kavanaugh's his name. Yeah, so presumably the FBI was vetting him. The FBI came out with a report which was basically dishonest. It implied that he'd been investigated, and they never really tried to do anything. And they didn't return calls and stuff like that. So maybe Christopher Wray exemplifies a weakened moral compass that if there were carrots and sticks, as Whitehouse was conjecturing, to induce him to show no courage, well, maybe it wasn't courage he didn't show. Maybe it was real moral commitment. I think about the movie High Noon and the attempts of Marshall Kane, played by Gary Cooper, to recruit people to help him maintain the decency of that town as this little gang of gangsters is coming to town to take over. And he finds that he finds a variety of things. He finds both these things. He finds a lack of courage, And he finds a lack of real commitment to having a decent society that he had thought was important to them. And I think that America is in that situation right now. And I think more so, at least in the Republican world, there's been a selective process where people who weren't willing to sell their souls gradually got driven out of the party. Like Corker from Tennessee, he criticizes a little bit, and then he doesn't run for re-election, and then he disappears. And Mitt Romney, and all those people, it seems to me, fall short of standing up and saying what you would hope that they would say. I mean, Liz Cheney is the hero of our times. When she gets threatened yet again about whether the Trump Justice Department is going to try to jail the people on the January 6th committee, she comes out right away with a powerful statement, basically telling what's what and showing the evil behind all that, and saying, I will not be intimidated. Well, would we have seen more of that in another time? I'm not saying she's the only one. So why do we see so much cowardice? Well, we've got a thug in power who will go out of his way to make people kiss his ring, show their subordination to him, their subservience, their servility, and to punish anybody who stands up against him. That flushes out whatever cowardice there might be in that world. And we've got a political force, today's Republican Party being run by it, that's weeded out people with integrity, selected for sociopathy. So why should I sacrifice my career, my money, my power, my access, my being safe, my having all these goodies when I don't really care about anybody but myself? Well, I think maybe we've moved socially in that direction more too. We don't necessarily evolve in a society to become exactly the same thing, no matter what the circumstance of our culture is. I had a friend who survived the Holocaust as a young fellow, hidden away by a Polish Catholic woman. He was Jewish. And I talked with him about, well, how did he see human nature? And he said that there are three kinds of people. There are the people who are drawn to do evil, let's just say. I don't know if he used that word, but drawn to do evil, regardless of what the circumstances are around them. So even in a well-ordered society, they would not be showing a good character, good intentions, goodwill, proper weighing of self-interest and the interests of the common, of the whole and the common good, all that stuff. I lost my way. Oh, three kinds of people. There are the people who will always do what's evil, regardless of the environment. And there's people who will always do the right thing, regardless of the environment, which I guess is to say that even in a situation where the thug is in power, they will not buckle under, at least not obey in advance like some people are doing. He said those two groups are real, but they're relatively small. The larger majority of people, he said, are not one way or the other, but it depends on the situation and the forces operating around them. If the world's in good order and the forces that they're subjected to are encouraging and rewarding of virtue, they'll go in that direction. But if the winds are blowing in the other direction, they will align themselves with the forces of destruction, of evil. I think that he's probably basically right. And I also think that in America in these times, there's been a deterioration of the field of forces operating generally, such that a lot of the more of those people in the middle group end up kissing the ring of evil than was the case in the America I grew up in, of Eisenhower, and even up through the first Bush. I think there has been a deterioration. And so we've got people who don't have the kind of deep moral commitment that's been reinforced by participating in a more whole society that would prepare them to make the kind of stand that Timothy Snyder would want them to make rather than obeying in advance. So more cowardice, and more of the cowardice that's there is exposed to our view in a disheartening thing to see. It is. Thanks. My website is a place where I present a picture of the forces at work in the human world. This is one little exploration of one of the manifestations maybe of the forces that are at work in the human world. Empowering a vindictive man is one aspect of the forces now at work. The loss of deeper moral connection is another way of thinking about. But there's a bigger picture that I paint that this is part of that I present on my website, abetterhumanstory.org. And I think it can be of use as we strive right now in a dark time to see whether we can get our act together as a civilization, not let the force of fascism take over the world, not let the humankind destroy itself, as looks right now to be a genuine possibility in the not too many coming generations, if we do not fight effectively to push back this force of destruction that we see rising in our world, in America, and threatening the survival of human civilization more globally. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and above all, if you'd like to see whether there's a picture that illuminates our situation in a useful way, please go to my website, abetterhumanstory.org. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.